Hello everyone and welcome back. I hope you are doing well. Today's hobby podcast is just going to cover needlepoint knitting. I will be talking about 3 of my current knitting whips and 3 of my needlepoint whips. So I think it'll be short and sweet. But nonetheless, we will just dive on in and I will start with my knitting. And in that, I will start with my Eken Sweater by the Knit Purl Girl. So this is my Eken Sweater by the Knit Purl Girl. It is a top-down turtleneck sweater knit in a DK weight yarn. I am knitting mine up in Mode at Rowan's alpaca wool in the color Walnut, number 16. Which is this really lovely chocolatey brown color. I think it is picking up pretty nicely on it. So this sweater is a lovely turtleneck sweater. It is knit top down. You start by knitting the back panel and then you make these little, I keep calling them little like sporty shoulder panels. I don't really know what they're called. I really should Google the correct name for that. But anyways, you do these little shoulder panels and kind of start the front panel, you join in the round and do some like raglan increases to get these little cap sleeves on the shoulders where the sleeves will be connected to. You knit in the round for the body and then you have the option to either knit the hem fully in the round or do a split hem. I opted to do a split hem in a 2x2 rib, and it is a nice chunky hem. It is a solid hem. I think the front is 4 inches or 5 inches and the back is 5 or 6 inches long, something like that. Very, very chunky 2x2 rib, which I love. I love a ribbed split hem. It is just so lovely. And then you go in and do the sleeves and then the neck last. However, I opted to do the turtleneck second before doing the sleeves. And that is just this lovely long 2x2, again, rib neck. It is folded over, comme ça, just like that. And it is just, yeah, a very lovely top-down, chunky turtleneck sweater. So that is my Eken sweater as of right now. I did block this. In my last podcast episode, I said I was going to block this mid-project, which I did. I blocked this the other day and I took a video pre and post block, which I will put on the screen now for you to compare. I had said I wanted it to grow like 2 or 3 inches in the bust and to really not grow too much in length, maybe a ½ inch to an inch at most. And I'm very happy to report that it grew exactly as I wanted it to. So my pre-block measurements were 17 inches armpit to armpit and 21 inches from the back of the neck down to the bottom of the back hem was 21 inches. I blocked it and it came out to be 20 inches armpit to armpit, so it grew 3 inches in width, which was fantastic. And it ended up growing just over a ½ inch down the length of the back, which was fantastic. So it's now just over 21.5 inches long. And I am just very, very pleased with how it turned out. And this mid-project block, the fabric is drapey and lovely, and it is soft and lightweight, but I think it still looks pretty substantial, which I'm very happy about. I've never blocked a project halfway through before, and I am so pleased that I did for this one. It just has made me so much more excited to work on this and finish it now that I have a better idea of what it will actually look like once finished. So I think I'm gonna do this for at least every sweater that I knit from now on, because I was getting to the point where I was kind of like, okay, I'm getting sick of this. I'm ready to be done. I had a sweater on Sleeve Island for about 6 or 7 months last year. And I was starting to get to that point with this where I'm kind of like, I don't really want to start the sleeves yet, but blocking it has kind of lit a fire under my bum and made me super excited, and I'm looking forward to starting my sleeves and finishing it, especially so I can wear this sweater still in the colder months. We have about a month and a half left where I could wear this, I think, weather-wise. So I think mid-March is when I would probably stop wearing turtlenecks here. So yeah, I am very excited about this. I love how it looks. I love how it looks. I love how it feels. I love the color, how it drapes and falls, and I just can't wait to finish it. So that is everything for my Eken sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl. And my next knitting whip I want to talk to you about is my Toffee Sweater by Cozy Knits. This is a sweater that was in hibernation for 4 or 5 months, and I pulled it out because we are planning a trip for this June to a place where I could just really see myself wearing this and wanting this. And it's also a sweater that I did want for the spring and summer specifically. I see it being like a summer night sweater, a very good summer Vermont sweater. It can get chilly up there at night, and I want some sort of like mid-weight sweater to toss on over like a t-shirt and shorts at night for when it gets a little chilly, to bring to the beach, all of these things. So I pulled it out again. The Toffee Sweater is a collared V-neck sweater. The pattern comes with 2 options, which I think is really interesting or nice. It comes with the option to do a fully stockinette version or a ribbed version if that is something you are interested in, which I really like having the option within the pattern, especially if I end up really liking how this looks. I might go and knit the ribbed version later on. I am knitting mine in a size large. For my bust measurement, I should be knitting in the medium, but I do want this to be oversized. I want it to be kind of like a big, just throw on sweater. So I decided to go up 1 size to the large. I will say that this pattern is not very size inclusive. I believe it only goes from an extra small to an extra large. And the yarn I am using is Knit Picks Woolen Cotton in the color Bear, which is their undyed colorway. So this is the progress that I've made. So this is the collar and the top portion of the back panel. I finished the collar when I put this away for hibernation back in, I think it was September or October. I hibernated this, and then I brought it out of hibernation, and I had done a few inches or maybe an inch or 2 of this back panel last week. And this week I finished this portion of the back panel. This is where I'm doing the increases. I am now finished with the increasing, and I will just knit stockinette for a few centimeters before finishing the back panel. And then once I finish that, I will do these panels that connect this to here, I guess, this portion. I'm not totally sure. So it's moving along, it's going along. This is a project that I have had to force myself to pick up this past week. I am just not a fan of knitting with white. I've talked about it 400 times, but I am doing it because I want it. So just slowly plugging away at this one. I'm really hoping to finish this back panel, honestly, within the next 2 or 3 days, and then finish both the front left and right panels by next week. I would like to have a significant portion of this done, so then I could like let it rest for a few weeks and then come back to it maybe in late February, early March. That would be my ideal scenario. I will be honest, I am having a few issues with both this yarn and the pattern. I typically don't have issues with rowing out in 100% wool. My tension with cotton and linen or natural fibers is a little different, and I do have issues with rowing out. This is a wool cotton blend yarn, and I am rowing out with this one. Hopefully it will, blocking will help it a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see. I'm having some pretty intense rowing out, which, I don't know, I've ripped back a few times, tried it again, and the rowing out just stayed. As I've gotten to the bottom, I think the rowing out has gotten a little bit better. There's a pretty high percentage of cotton in this. I want to say it's 50-50. Cotton and wool, so I think it might just be the cotton that I'm just rowing out with. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. I've decided to leave it because at least this back part, the collar covers it, so you won't be able to see it too much. And I think this is just gonna be a slightly more rustic sweater. I've decided I'm not gonna be too bothered by it. But hopefully I will be able to kind of even out my tension as I move along before I start the front two panels. The other issue I'm having with this is with the pattern itself. I have found certain sections really confusing, and I've had to reread it 5 or 6 times to understand what it wants me to do, only to realize that it's something that's basic that I've done a ton of times. I think something might be like lost in translation. I think the designer is from Germany, so there might be some, I don't know, confusion in the English translation. I'm not totally sure. So I wouldn't recommend this as your first or even second sweater pattern. I think this is maybe like a good 5th, 6th, or 7th if it is something that interests you, just so you have an idea of certain techniques. Like it says to do the increases on the wrong side as well as the right side. So you're doing the make one left purl, make one right purl, but it doesn't explicitly say that. And I don't think it has to as a pattern. I think doing that, you know, make one, you know, do the increases on the right side and the wrong side, you can kind of deduce what it says. But if you are a beginner, super beginner knitter, and this is like your first or second pattern or sweater pattern, maybe put that on pause and pick it up a little later. Just because I've had a few issues with reading the pattern itself. But otherwise, other than those 2 issues, I am really enjoying this. I am so looking forward to having it as a finished object, to having it as a sweater. I think it will be perfect for the spring and summer, and like those warmer months where there are maybe cooler nights or cooler days as kind of like a toss on. So that is my Toffee Sweater by Cozy Knits. And then my next knitting pattern is my Mohair Bias Loop by Church Mouse Classics. I think I kept calling them Church Mouse Knits in my last video, but they are Church Mouse Classics. This is where I'm at so far. Not too much progress since last week. I think I've done 5 or 6 more rows, but I think you are starting to be able to see a little bit of like the bias. So I don't know if you can see, it's kind of, starting to slant on the edge. Oh my gosh. It's starting to slant on the edge there. And over here, you can really see it. If I pull it down, it's really starting to like slant on the edge. So I'm starting to get that bias shape, diagonal bias cut, I guess. This is a loop, as it says, a bias knit loop that you just knit to a specific length on a bias, so like making these diagonal sides, and then you sew it together and you have this lovely wrappy cowl scarfy thing. I am knitting mine up in Southampton by Valley Yarns in the color Natural. It is just a mohair, like a white cream mohair yarn. Very, very just nice fluffy yarn. I've noticed with this mohair, it's not getting all over me in the way that other mohairs do. There's like pretty minimal shedding. I'm wearing a navy sweater and black pants right now, and even just like having it here on my lap, not a lot is coming off, which is fantastic. I found some mohairs definitely shed a lot, but I'm not noticing that as much with this one. So I've not made a ton of progress on this. I will say knitting this mohair on these needles is not so fun. I wish I had some chunky bamboo needles to knit this on. I find it to be very slidey. But this has been such a great purse project to have. It has been on the bus with me, the subway. It has sat in a doctor's office already. So that's kind of when I'm working on it. If I don't finish it for this like cold winter season, it's not the end of the world. It's just like a good on the go purse project is what I'm calling it. So that is my Mohair Bias Loop by Church Mouse Classics. And then I do have 2 other knitting projects that I am working on, but I'm not really going to talk about them today because I did not pick them up this past week. And those 2 projects are my Swallowtail Shawl by Evelyn A. Clark, which I am knitting up in Knitting for Olive Merino, held with Knitting for Olive Mohair, both in the color Pea Shoots. I just did not pick that up this week at all. And then the second project that I didn't pick up is, funnily enough, also a green project, and that is this like DIY poncho that I am making, and I am knitting that up in Isager Trio 2 in the color Green Tea. Neither of those were picked up this week. I just didn't, I was focusing on other projects, I guess. But hopefully I will work on them some this week, and I will be able to share some progress on those in my next podcast. That is it for knitting for today, and the only other category I have to talk about is needlepoint. I have 3 projects in my needlepoint category that I'm currently working on, and I will start with the project that has gotten the least amount of love this past week, and that is my Statue of Liberty canvas. So many loose threads I need to deal with. I just have not worked on this at all this past week. I did a little bit. I'm still working on the background. I am doing basket weave for the background. I think you can kind of see up over here. I only have 3 cards of this Essentials die lot. So I'm kind of being a little bit chaotic with the background. My plan is to go around the Statue of Liberty with just this white background basket weave, kind of following the outline. So I'm kind of doing like a rough outline of her between like 3 to 7 stitches as an outline around her. And then if I think I have enough, I will go in and do a full rectangle, which is what I really want to do. I just want to see how far I can get with the cards that I have. I want to make sure I'm not like doing too much. So yeah, just kind of like doing a thick border around her right now. It's not super even in a basket weave, but once I do that border and I see how much thread I have left, I will decide if I want to kind of fill in and make a rectangle. And if I don't have enough thread left, I will be on the hunt for another card of this Essentials in this die lot probably. So that is my Statue of Liberty canvas. And if you've never seen this before, this is a canvas I designed and painted. I did not buy it. The chart for it is in my description. It is a Google Drive PDF. So if you're interested in painting this yourself, you can. There's the charts there for you for free. So that is my Statue of Liberty. The next needlepoint project I have to update you on is my stitch library. If you weren't here in my last podcast, I am making a stitch library of all decorative stitches because I want to get better at choosing decorative stitches. I want to practice doing decorative stitches. This Statue of Liberty canvas is what really made me decide to do this, because I am making a full series or a little Christmas village, I guess, of New York City landmarks wrapped in Christmas lights. And I want to do fun background, like decorative background stitches on all of those. But I feel like I don't choose the best ones. So that is kind of what prompted me to start this library. And right now I have 3 stitches on it. I'm hoping the shadows won't get in the way, but I have a brick stitch, a horizontal brick stitch on over here. And then in the middle, I've done the woven stitch, which I think is so pretty. I really love how that looks. And then the far end, I have a wicker stitch, which I think is so fun if I were to ever do a basket. Both of those, the woven and wicker stitch, would be so fun for baskets or things like that. So those are my 3 decorative stitches so far. I am hoping to add 2 to 3 more stitches a week. So maybe this week I'll add 2 or 3 more that you will see next week. But yeah, this is my stitch library, just hoping to continue to add to this. So I have my own little personal reference card of decorative stitches, easily and readily available to me. So that is my stitch library. It is coming in handy because my next project, I have a very large background that I will need to fill in, and I am determined to do a decorative stitch for the background on this. Now, this needlepoint canvas is another one that I have designed and painted myself, and it is actually a little sneak peek. I'm not going to be talking about it too much in this hobby podcast because my next video, which I'm hoping to put out on Thursday or Friday, is going to be a paint and stitch with me of this canvas, and that is my Valentine's Day canvas. Here it is. It says "Still Not Sick of You," and it has this little heart border on the top and bottom, and pink and red. I am loving how this has turned out, or how it is turning out, how it's working up. I think it's adorable, and I think it's so cute. I'm not going to talk too much about my inspiration or anything, the ideas behind it, but because I do that in my paint and stitch with me, that again hopefully will be out by the end of this week, so keep your eyes out for that if you are interested in painting this canvas for yourself and stitching it for yourself. All of the info on this, the threads I'm using, the painting process, everything will be in that video. But that is my Valentine's Day canvas for the month of February. I was feeling in a little bit of a lovey-dovey mood, so I wanted something lovey-dovey to work on. So that is everything. That is all that I have for you today. I told you this would be short and sweet, and I think it was. I think we're probably like sub 30 minutes. So as always, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.